That night, I was assaulted. Two murderers broke into my home, and they violated me right in front of my grandmother. Then, right before my eyes, they strangled her to death. I somehow survived. From a promising top student bound for the nation's best university, I became a useless, paralyzed wreck, unable even to go to the bathroom by myself. But then, I was reborn. Reborn to the moment when the killers knocked on my door. 1. My life was destroyed that night. It was June 6, 10 p.m. I remember it clearly. A storm was raging outside, and the power had gone out. The whole apartment was pitch black. Then came the sound of knocking. "Open up. We're here to check the wiring." The voice was hoarse, strange, and it sent a chill through my bones. I trembled all over. The killers had arrived. 2. Before the blackout, Grandma had been in the kitchen, busy preparing breakfast for the next morning. She insisted on steaming a basket of flower-shaped buns, saying they would bring me good luck on my entrance exam. "Alice, check again, got your exam pass? Your pens? Eraser," she fussed non-stop, pretending not to be nervous herself, though she must have checked my backpack a dozen times. What used to be her annoying nagging, later became something I would give anything to hear again. I hugged her tightly, burying my face in her shoulder, tears welling in my eyes. She froze, startled, and gently stroked my hair. "What's wrong, sweetheart? Feeling nervous? Don't push yourself too hard. No matter what school you get into, Grandma will still be proud of you." For 10 years as a paralyzed invalid, I regretted one thing again and again: why did I open that door? Through the peephole, I saw two men in uniforms, soaked from the rain. But the second I unlocked the door, a pair of huge hands grabbed my throat. "Grandma." Before I could scream, they slammed me into the wall. Hearing the noise, Grandma rushed out, clutching a kitchen knife, ready to fight. But she was no match for them. One kick sent her crashing to the floor. Later I learned who they were: two death row convicts who had escaped after killing police officers. The fat one was named Jason, the thin one Eric, both seasoned murderers. Jason dragged me into the bedroom without hesitation. I must have blacked out for a while, but when I came to, I could hear Grandma's broken sobs and pleas, while pain tore through my body. They had tied Grandma up and forced her to watch everything. Her voice went hoarse from crying. She crawled on the floor, knocking her head against it, begging. "Please, please, take all the money, it's yours. Just kill me if you have to, but spare my granddaughter." The torture lasted 4 hours. Then they got hungry and ordered Grandma to cook noodles for them. "Oh, you've got an exam tomorrow? Treat us well, maybe we'll let the girl live, huh?" one of them sneered. Grandma believed them. When they were full, they picked their teeth and strangled her right in front of me. Her face turned purple, her hands clawed weakly at the air, reaching desperately toward me. I screamed and thrashed, breaking free of the gag, and like a mad dog I bit down on Jason's arm. He howled, grabbed a knife, and swung it at me. Jason used to be a butcher. He knew how to strike at the joints. It was my homeroom teacher who found us. When I didn't show up for the exam, she came to check on me, and discovered the horror. I was lying in a pool of blood, every bone shattered. They didn't think I'd make it through surgery. "What a waste," the doctors said. Top of the province in every mock exam, both top universities had reached out, such a bright future, what a pity. But I lived, at the cost of a lifetime in a wheelchair. I lost my family, my future, my dignity. Yet somehow, I kept breathing. 3. I lost my guaranteed admission to the university. After the exam, my teacher brought my classmates to visit. I forced a smile as I looked at their bright, healthy faces, until one of the girls wrinkled her nose. "Do you guys smell that? Why does Alice's room stink?" It was urine. The nurse had forgotten to change me. I wanted to die of shame. As soon as they left, I heard them chatting in relief. "Hey, where we going later?" Let's hit that KTV in East Town, they've got the best Korean tracks. Ugh, hospitals give me the creeps. I need to wash with pomelo leaves when I get home. 10 years of paralysis was enough to kill the old Alice, the proud, ambitious Alice who once dreamed of everything. But now, I had been reborn. Reborn to the exact moment before the killers knocked on my door. Standing between life and death, all the fear and despair I'd buried for years turned into a cold, sharp calm. This time, I'd fight for myself and for Grandma. It was 2008, cell phones weren't common among students yet. We only had an old landline, so I grabbed it and tried to call the police. But the receiver was dead, no signal. They must have cut the power to the entire building. To make Grandma take things seriously, I lied. Remember that girl in my class? Her dad's a police chief. She just called and said 2 escaped convicts are headed for our neighborhood. One fat, one skinny. They might pretend to be maintenance workers. In the dark, Grandma's eyes were full of confusion. And just as I finished speaking, came the pounding on the door. Open up. We're here to check the wiring. My throat tightened. They were here. The knocking grew louder, impatient. Hey. Open the door. You want your power fixed or not? Grandma clutched my hand, trembling. Alice, maybe it's a misunderstanding? I pushed her into the storage cabinet and whispered. The blackout's only been 5 minutes. Have you ever seen repairmen arrive that fast? The whole building's out, they'd fix the main switch, not come to our door. How had I missed such an obvious flaw in my past life? The curtains were drawn tight. The silence was suffocating except for the tick of the clock. I prayed they would just leave, until I suddenly realized something was wrong. Their wording. I hadn't said a single word, yet they kept shouting, "Open the door." Not once did they ask, "Is anyone home?" That meant this wasn't random. They already knew exactly whose door they were knocking on. 4. But why? Before I could think any further, the killers pried the door open and slipped in without a sound. Tap, tap, tap. Their footsteps grew closer. I held my breath and hid under the bed, my hands clamped tightly over my mouth. My heart pounded so hard it felt like it would burst out of my chest. Through the tiny gap, I saw them enter the bedroom. They started rummaging through drawers and cabinets. Jason, the fat one, stopped less than half a meter from me. After searching and finding no one, the thin man said, "Hey, maybe we check upstairs?" The door shut. I waited, trembling, until I thought it was safe. The second I crawled out from under the bed, a broad, greasy face appeared right in front of mine. My heart froze. They hadn't left. Jason's face, the one that had haunted my nightmares, twisted into a mocking grin. Well, well. You thought you could fool me? The water in your cup's still warm. How could no one be home? That was how I died for the first time. What followed was almost the same as before. Except this time, during the struggle, I stabbed Jason with a fruit knife and he killed me on the spot. As blood sprayed, I saw Grandma's terrified eyes widen. Then Eric looped a rope around her neck. She looked dazed, almost calm, not even struggling. I wanted to scream for her, but no sound came from my slashed throat. After my parents' car accident, Grandma and I had only each other. She raised me by selling pancakes on the street, waking at 4 in the morning, working until midnight. Some mean neighbors used to gossip, "Poor old lady. Too bad she doesn't have a grandson, a boy could at least take care of her someday." But Grandma never got angry. She'd just smile and say, "My Alice is smart and hardworking. Who says only boys can do great things? Tell me, Aunt Zhang, your grandson's in her class. Who gets better grades?" My name, Alice, came from her favorite tree, the pine. No matter how harsh the wind or flood or drought, the pine survives. It grows on cliffs, reaching toward the sky. I swore to be like that tree, to climb higher and higher, to get into the best school, study the best major, make lots of money. So Grandma wouldn't have to wake up before dawn, breathe in greasy smoke, or endure those women's snide remarks. So she'd never again cry over a fake bill. But why? Why couldn't I ever save her? 5. I jolted awake. My throat still burned as if it had just been cut. Gasping, I pressed both hands against it, trembling in shock. Around me was the same familiar bedroom. From behind came Grandma's gentle voice. Alice, stop studying and go to bed. Big day tomorrow. Did you pack your exam card? Take some extra pens. I looked at the clock, June 6th, 10 p.m. That meant I'd gone back again. Back to the moment before the killers came. An endless loop? I held my head, shaking. Questions swirled in my mind. The attack wasn't random, that much I was sure of. But our apartment complex was old and crowded. Why us? Why my home? Before I could think it through, the knocking started again. This time, I shoved a cabinet against the door, trying to buy us some time. A second later, crack. An axe smashed through the wooden door, splinters flying everywhere. Jason's eye pressed against the crack, his grin spreading wide. Playing hide and seek, little girl? Don't worry, big brother's coming to play with you. The door burst open. I grabbed a hammer and charged. I've lost count of how many times I died. I've used everything I could find, bug spray, hammers, knives. I even poisoned the noodles once, hoping when Grandma cooked for them, they'd eat it and die. But no matter what I tried, we always ended up dead. No, there had to be a solution. There's no unsolvable problem, only the wrong approach. Without phones or electricity, what could I do to get help fast enough? When I woke up again, I looked silently toward the kitchen. Grandma was there, kneading dough. Alice, check again, your exam card, pens, eraser. I'll make you breakfast tomorrow. So much flour, unopened bags stacked in the corner. And then I remembered something from my middle school chemistry textbook. Combustible dust can ignite under certain conditions. 6 minutes later, a deafening explosion ripped through the night. A blazing fire lit up the rain-soaked sky. Look! That building's on fire. Lights flickered on in nearby apartments, people shouting as they rushed outside. Evacuate. Call the police. There's a fire, hurry. 1 minute earlier, I'd sent Grandma to borrow candles from Aunt Carol on the second floor. We lived on the fifth, and only Carol's floor was still occupied. In one of the previous loops, I'd climbed down the drainpipe to her balcony. Just as she was calling the police, a dark figure had dropped from above. Eric, knife in hand. If Jason was greedy and cruel, then Eric was pure evil, a man who killed for pleasure. That time, I'd doomed Carol and her husband. This time, I wouldn't repeat my mistake. At exactly 10:03 p.m., the knocking started again. When the killers broke through the door, a wave of fire and smoke hit them head-on. This was my chance. Holding my breath, I leapt from behind the sofa and bolted out the door. Jason spotted me through the flames. He and Eric exchanged a glance. Eric charged inside. Jason came after me, swinging his axe. Sparks flew as the blade sliced past my shoulder. He missed, but I stumbled and fell down the stairs. Before I could get up, Jason was on me, huge, heavy, furious. He yanked my hair and slammed my head against the floor. Still trying to run? I'll end you. My vision blurred, blood dripping down my face. Through the haze, I saw Jason raise his axe again. But this time, I wasn't afraid. I even smiled. At least Grandma was safe, that made it worth it. The axe came down, and a scream followed. But it wasn't mine. It was Grandma's. She'd come back. She threw herself between us, taking the blow meant for me. Blood splattered across my face. Outside, sirens wailed, the police were finally here. For the first time in all the loops, they had made it in time. But it was too late. Grandma, no. Please, stay awake. Look, the police are here. I shouted until my throat tore, but the blood wouldn't stop. The axe had nearly split her small, fragile body in two. Her lips trembled as she forced out her last breath. Alice, run. And just like that, I lost her again. Again. And again. And again. Why? What am I missing? I pounded the floor in despair. Then, suddenly, something clicked. This time, Eric hadn't interrogated us. So how did they still know about the money hidden under the bed? Grandma never trusted banks. She'd secretly stashed 80,000 yuan, the compensation from my parents' accident. The fugitives needed cash to stay on the run. No banks. No IDs. An old woman and a young girl alone, we were the perfect target. But how did they know? They escaped from prison at 5 p.m. So who told them about us? Who was feeding them information? 7. I chose to stay in the fire and rise again from the ashes. When I opened my eyes, it was still that stormy night at 10 o'clock. This time, I went straight to Grandma's bedroom and pried open the floorboard under her bed. I pulled out a bundle of cash she'd hidden there and shoved it into my backpack. She stared at me, startled. How did you know there was money there? I pressed a hand on her shoulder. In her cloudy old eyes, I saw my reflection, cold, sharp, unrecognizable. I was no longer the frightened little girl she knew. Desperation had burned away my fear and rebuilt me into something harder. Seeing me like that, Grandma froze. Listen carefully, I said quickly. 2 men will break in 2 minutes from now. Don't fight them. Just tell them I have the money, otherwise, either of us will make it out. I tied the bedsheets corner to corner, fixed them to the balcony railing, and before Grandma could stop me, I swung over. Her scream was drowned by the downpour as I climbed down, rain blurring my vision. When I reached the 3rd-floor balcony, I heard the door upstairs crash open. And Grandma's terrified cries. My heart pounded, but I couldn't stop. They wouldn't kill her yet, not until they found the money. If I could lead them away, maybe, just maybe, we'd survive. Lightning split the sky. And then a tattooed arm reached out above me, blade flashing. Jason. He swung down and slashed the sheet in half. 8. With a sickening thud, I hit the ground. I heard the crack of bone, my leg, probably broken, but there was no time to think. Staggering to my feet, I ran down the narrow slope toward the main road. Thunder roared overhead, rain flooding everything, my voice, my fear, my world. Every store on the street had its shutters closed. Not one light. I ran barefoot, half blind, my breath ragged, until I finally reached the main road. Then, headlights. Blinding, brilliant headlights. A car was coming fast. I waved both arms wildly. And when it stopped, I realized it was a police car. My heart nearly burst with relief. Maybe heaven had heard me after all. I stumbled forward, shouting through the rain, "Officer. Please." 2 men broke into my house, my grandma's still inside. You have to help her. I must have looked awful, barefoot, bleeding, drenched head to toe, but the officer's steady voice cut through the storm. Calm down. Tell me slowly. Where do you live? Then he said, Is it Building B, Apartment 503, Inghua Lane? I froze. How did he know my address? I hadn't told him. Before I could react, he shouted past me. Can't you idiots even guard one little girl properly? What? My stomach dropped. My blood turned to ice. Slowly, I turned around. Through the rain, Jason was walking toward us, knife in hand, smiling that same cold smile. And then I noticed, the officer's radio wasn't even on. His uniform was buttoned wrong. Beneath the collar peaked orange fabric, prison clothes. Jason and Eric had stayed at my house so long for a reason. They'd been waiting. There were never just two of them. There were 3. 9. That time, I didn't make it out. The fake cop grabbed my head and slammed it against the pavement. Everything went dark, except the sound. A ringing in my ears, then a snap. Before I completely lost consciousness, I forced out one question. Who told you about my house? The fake cop crouched beside me, voice low and cruel. If you really want to know, he whispered. Maybe ask your good classmate. 10. It was June, humid, sticky, and restless. Remember, confidence and focus, the teacher said, smiling at the class. Good luck tomorrow, everyone. I hope you all do your best on the exam. I shot up from my seat, gasping. Chairs scraped, everyone stared. My homeroom teacher scowled. Alice. Sleeping again? You can nap all you want after the exam. My head throbbed. Was that a dream? Or? Then I felt a hand on my forehead. Alice, are you okay? It was Frank, my desk mate. His clear, worried eyes met mine. You feel warm, are you getting sick? For a second, my heart stopped. His hand was warm. Real. Alive. I grabbed it instinctively. He froze, cheeks turning bright red. Hey, Alice, what are you doing? This time, I hadn't returned to the moment the killers knocked. I'd come back 5 hours before it happened. Now, there were still 30 minutes left before they'd escape from prison. 11. The thief had said my classmate betrayed me. I scanned the classroom. Everyone looked normal, chatting, reviewing notes, laughing. But someone here had already sold me out. Easy, Alice. Breathe. You're closer to the truth than ever. The devil hides in details, find the root, and maybe you can change your fate. During break, the class beauty, Kara, came over to Frank holding a notebook. Seriously, who still keeps a class memory book? Someone teased. We've got social media now. You don't get it, she said, blushing. It's sentimental. When we look back, it'll be a sweet memory. Ha! You just want Frank's autograph, another joked. My heart stopped. That notebook. Back then, I was the only one who ever wrote my home address in it. We'd just moved back to my grandma's place a few days before it happened. Kara's dad worked at a bank, and I'd once signed up for one of their programs hoping they could convince Grandma to stop keeping cash at home. Kara knew where I lived. She knew Grandma's habits. 2 key pieces of information. And she had both. 12. I'd always been the thorn in Kara's side. She loved mocking my clothes, my family, my job. When I worked at a milk tea shop during summer break, she reported me for underage labor. When I helped Grandma sell pancakes on the street, she called the city officers on us. Public safety is everyone's duty, Alice, she'd said sweetly. Who knows if your food's even clean? And the boy she liked was my desk mate, Frank. Our teacher thought pairing the top 2 students would help us both improve. And it did, at first. We argued often about math problems, essays, anything. Until one day on a crowded bus, I got pushed straight into his arms. He was tall, I barely reached his chest. He looked down, the scent of mint shampoo filling the air. Flustered, I grabbed his shirt for balance. Some kids nearby giggled, and my face burned. Frank just smiled softly, pulled off his cap, and placed it on my head. His voice brushed my ear. So, you do get scared sometimes, huh? Young hearts are fragile things. And secrets even more so. After the accident, Kara visited me often, too often. She was terrified I might recover. When my 3rd surgery failed, she finally relaxed enough to tell me. Frank got into university. I'll be going there too. We'll be close, easy to look after each other. Then she smiled. Alice, Frank's going to fall for me. You'll see. I said nothing, just stared out the window at the trees. That was all I could still control. For years later, every vacation Frank came back to visit. He'd bring stories, help with my rehab, massage my stiff legs. He'd grown taller, sharper, more confident. He had the whole world ahead of him. We'd once walked side by side. Now, we lived in different worlds. 10 years after the accident, I received his wedding invitation. He was finally marrying Kara. 13. Kara brought the wedding invitation herself and placed it gently by my pillow. The hospital room smelled of disinfectant, cold and bitter. Alice, she said, her tone calm for the first time ever, I know Frank's been visiting you all these years. I agreed to it, even encouraged it. Her voice was oddly soft. People keep asking if I get jealous, she laughed faintly. Jealous? Of you? Look at yourself. Back in school, sure, I envied you. You were always the golden one, top of the class, always shining. But in the end, results are all that matter, right? Sunlight streamed through the window that day, too bright, too cruel. My eyes felt dry, but my heart, my useless, aching heart, hurt everywhere. Humans are strange creatures. Even when the body feels nothing, the pain inside can still tear you apart. When she turned to leave, I whispered a blessing. Congratulations on your wedding, Kara. I hope you'll be happy. She paused, smiled coldly. Keep your blessings, Alice. You'll need them more than I do. Then, my vision flickered. Kara's 18-year-old face appeared before me again, impatient, irritated. Hurry up and write it already. It's not like I don't know you're poor. What's there to hide? My heart pounded, but I forced my hand to stay steady. And this time, I wrote down an address. One that didn't exist. 14. 10 o'clock that night, the rain came right on time. I sat at my desk, pretending to study but unable to focus, glancing again and again at the front door. My nerves were wound tight as wire. Grandma was kneading dough, humming softly while the clock ticked. I barely dared to breathe. 9 o'clock passed. No blackout. No knocking. No killers. It worked. The false address worked. Kara had been the one who set me up. I threw my arms around Grandma in relief, nearly making her drop the dough. What's gotten into you tonight, child? You scared me half to death. Just checking, I said quickly, pretending to laugh. Making sure I've got everything for the exam, ID, pencils, eraser, all that. She waved me off, still chuckling, you've checked them 100 times already. When she insisted on sleeping alone, I snore too much, she said. I clung to her arm, pouting. Just a little while, Grandma. Please? You're so clingy tonight, she teased. Nervous about the exam, huh? I leaned against her shoulder, whispering, voice trembling to hold back tears. I just had a bad dream. I dreamed that on my way to the test, something bad happened, and I never made it there. She clicked her tongue and patted my head. Dreams are always the opposite, sweetheart. You'll be fine. Grandma prays for you every single day. I pulled the blanket close, resting my head on her shoulder, feeling, for the first time in forever, safe. That night, I fell into the deepest sleep I'd had in years. The next morning, I woke up to Grandma's homemade breakfast, waved goodbye, and boarded the exam bus full of energy. But as soon as I sat down, I noticed the teacher's strange expression. Then the classmate beside me leaned over, pale-faced. Alice, you didn't hear? Kara's family, something terrible happened. I froze. What do you mean? They said some fugitives broke into their house last night. Kara and her mom, they didn't make it. 15. Kara and her mother were gone. Only her father survived, he'd been on a business trip. My whole body went cold. It wasn't Kara. Then, who? Why did they go to her house, just because I'd written the wrong address? As I left the exam hall, a thought flashed through my mind. I grabbed a classmate. Yesterday, the class memory book. Who kept it after Kara? Please, don't say his name. Please. The classmate thought for a moment. Oh, right. She handed it to Frank. Frank. Of course, he'd gone with me to that bank event, too. No. It had to be a misunderstanding. Frank would never. I laughed weakly. Frank had always been kind. After my accident, when even the nurses grew impatient feeding me, he would stay, patiently spooning each bite, taking an hour if he had to. He was the one who told me life was still worth living. The one who gave me hope. But that day, during lunch break, I saw him leave the classroom, looking uneasy. Something told me to follow. He went to the empty stairwell, rain tapping on the windows, and hissed into his phone. Stop calling. We've already given you the money. You promised that was it. Why did you have to kill them? You'll drag me and Mom down with you. Kara's family was attacked around 9:30. From my false address to her house, it was exactly a 30-minute drive. The truth hit like lightning. The person who gave the killers our information was Frank. 16. No. It couldn't be. My mind cracked open, disbelief tearing me apart. I stumbled backward, bumping into a broom that clattered to the floor. Frank spun around. Our eyes met. For a heartbeat, the world stopped. Then I turned and ran. Down the hall, up the stairs, into the rain. He caught up on the rooftop, grabbing my arm. His face was pale, desperate. Alice, please, let me explain. Explain what? I shouted. How they knew my address, and Kara's. Frank, you helped them. Do you even know how many people died because of you? He shut his eyes in pain. Yes. My biological father was a criminal. His voice trembled. He was sentenced to death years ago. Mom remarried, we started a new life. But yesterday, he called me, said he'd escaped and needed money. If I didn't help, he'd find my mom and destroy everything. I didn't have a choice. The exam was today, I thought giving him the money would make him go away forever. Rain streaked his face, mixing with tears. I swear, Alice, I didn't know he had accomplices. I didn't know anyone would get hurt. He looked at me, eyes dark and full of guilt. You, of all people, you know how hard I worked for that exam. We promised we'd make it together, didn't we? His voice cracked. Please, don't ruin my future too. 17. My heart twisted in pain. For 10 whole years, Frank had been the only thing keeping me alive. Every time I thought about giving up, I'd tell myself, if I die, maybe Frank will be sad. But now that I think about it, it was strange. Every time he visited me in the hospital, he'd always ask, Alice, are you sure you can't remember anything? Did those two ever mention where they were running off to? What a pity, they're still not caught. Those two. Now I finally understood why he always said two. Because when they tortured me, there was a third one. They all thought I was dead, but I lived. And you were scared I'd seen that person's face, scared I'd recognize your connection and ruin your perfect little life. Frank's expression froze, all the color drained from his face. I forced a twisted smile that hurt more than crying. Frank, your father, he's the fake cop who helped them escape, isn't he? 18. When Frank pushed me off the rooftop, he didn't even hesitate. That look on his face, cold and detached, was the same one the killer had when he twisted my neck. As I fell, I heard my classmates scream. The world flipped upside down, pain spreading through every nerve. Somewhere in the haze, a memory surfaced. Just a few days ago, we'd been on that very rooftop, watching the stars. The summer air was buzzing with cicadas. Frank had smiled at me then, eyes full of hope. Alice, in the future, we'll both make our dreams come true. 19. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in our messy classroom. Frank's hand was still on my forehead, his face full of fake concern. Alice, are you okay? You don't look well. Want me to grab some medicine from the nurse? Funny, isn't it? A moment ago he was the one watching me fall. He stepped outside after a phone call, face dark and unreadable. I knew it then, the wheel of fate was turning again. People's hearts are like Schrodinger's cat. You'll never know their true nature until danger opens the box. That night, Jason, Eric, and a few others broke into Cura's house using the address. David, the fake cop, tossed his uniform aside and barked orders. Jason, Eric, get the cash. Once we're done, we split up. Head south to Vietnam through Guangxi, then regroup in Myanmar. Jason stared at the photos of Kara and her mother on the wall, grinning. Boss, give me a minute, yeah? David rolled his eyes. You'll die chasing women one day. Half an hour, no more. Before he could finish, bang. A full SWAT team stormed in, taking them down in seconds. Yes, 5 hours earlier, right after Frank's phone call. I had quietly gone to the public phone booth downstairs. No one was around. I dialed the police. Lowering my voice, I spoke fast and serious. Hello, I'm a high school teacher. I want to report that my student Frank's father escaped from prison. He called my student and threatened him for money. The college entrance exams are coming. I'm worried this will affect his performance, he's one of our top students. Please check it out immediately. And just like that. After so many wrong answers, I'd finally chosen the right one. One coin. One phone call. One perfectly staged performance. 20. Even though Frank tried to deny everything. The phone records didn't lie. He'd picked up the calls, he'd even shared his classmates' info. He was a real accomplice. Never thought it'd be Frank, people whispered. He's the one who gave them the addresses. Always picked the weak families too. Kara adored him. Who knew the son of a murderer could be so cold? If he hadn't helped, everyone would have known who his father was. Guess he thought this was the only way to protect himself. Kura's family sued him. His exam results were voided. And me? I was finally free of it all. I did well on the exam, steady, focused, unshaken. Not long after, my teacher called me in for a private talk. She looked at me meaningfully. I didn't make that report call. But I checked the security footage. The call came from the public phone on campus, and I saw you there, Alice. It's just us here. Want to explain? The sun was setting, washing the classroom in gold. I smiled calmly. Must be a coincidence, ma'am. I was just calling home, that's all. And I knew she wouldn't say a word. When the results came out, I got into Tsinghua University, majoring in electronic information engineering. In 2008, that was the golden ticket. The most promising career for the next decade. When the acceptance letter arrived, the whole neighborhood came to celebrate. Grandma wore her best dress, hair neatly pinned up. In the group photo, she stood tall beside me, pride glowing from her face. By my sophomore year, I'd earned my first pot of gold through coding. Junior year, I rented 2 apartments in Zhongguancun. One for my startup, one for Grandma. We visited the flag-raising ceremony she'd dreamed of all her life. Took photos at the Forbidden City. Rode ice sleds on Shikohai. Ate snacks in the old Beijing hutongs. The tiny pine tree growing in the cliff cracks had finally taken root. Strong enough to hold up the sky. One day, while packing my old things, a small paper charm slipped out from my backpack's lining. I picked it up. It was worn, almost burnt around the edges. Grandma laughed awkwardly. "Oh, that? I tucked it there before your exam, for good luck." But my great-aunt exposed her right away. "Don't listen to her, Alice. That charm's no ordinary one. Your grandma heard there was a temple deep in the mountains that answered prayers. She climbed all the way up, kneeling and bowing for 99 steps. Cut her head, twisted her back, but she wouldn't stop. She begged the gods to keep you safe, to give you a smooth life." There were faint stains of blood on the charm. And a trace of something scorched. Reminders that all those near-death moments had been real. My hands trembled as tears filled my eyes. After all these years, I finally understood. Every reset, every second chance. Those 99 steps. They weren't destiny. They were the only blessing my grandmother had bought for me. With her faith, her pain, and her love.